It's going to be an awesome day. Chris Hummer, Matt Zenitz, all of our guys who just follow the transfer portal religiously. Patagna be on there with some early transfer portal ratings, which are really hard to do, especially in real time. But they've been doing a lot of background work on guys that maybe you would hear might jump in at certain times. So it's pretty awesome, man. Got Dylan Raiola on the front page of 24/7 Sports. So maybe
that made my heart skip a beat, bud.
For Miami, yeah. That's kind of if you want the hot rumor down here in Florida, it's Miami and Raiola. So we'll see if that comes to fruition. But I've had some Canes fans ask me about that already. So I wonder where that's coming from.
I find it hard to believe Dylan Raiola would transfer to a new school.
Right? I mean, it'd be so out of character.
Yeah, I just don't see that happening.
He was with his doppelganger last night. Did y'all see that?
He was at the Chiefs game.
Was he?
Chiefs game. Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Oh, so he's going to Texas Tech.
Oh, there we go. So Dylan Raiola, the Nebraska quarterback, the former 5-star, that's an expected to enter or a reported to enter at this point. We still haven't seen his name pop up, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That is a reality that could happen.
Yeah, but
if you want to read what Hummer wrote, Raiola is someone several teams are keeping an eye on as a portal candidate per multiple sources with various fronts. There's been some worry around Nebraska. He may depart. Nebraska's been losing a lot of good players, by the way. Raiola, a 5-star quarterback in the 24 class, started every game for the Huskers this season. They went 6-6, change of offensive coordinator, bringing in Dana Holgerson. Raiola leaving would more likely because his camp wants to compete for a national contender rather than it being a decision motivated by money.
I will say, like, if I'm a top quarterback, just financial wise, I'd enter the portal every damn time it opened.
Agreed. But I do think I agree. Like, and you're stupid if you're not to. Like, why wouldn't you be a free agent every year and see what your value is? Man, I hate that. I mean, what was it? 4 or 5 different high schools. It can't even keep track, but it was one every year. Then you go to 1 year of college and you're already into it again. And then I don't believe him if he says it's not about the money. It's about winning championships. It clearly is about the money because Nebraska can pay him probably, equivalent if he just wanted to stay. I don't know. I hate this. My biggest thing is the calendar of when it is. I mean, the fact we had signing day last week and now we have the portal now before teams are even playing not only bowls, but playoff games they potentially could be in soon. I don't know. It's an issue we've talked a lot about. The optics of it are a mess. They need to get this thing under wraps. So at least you can sign a kid out of college into college for 2 years and, have his rights. And if you want to make a trade, like a coach, everyone's going to say, oh, well, coaches can leave. Then yes, have a buyout or have a trade system set up where you can have people move. But the one and dones every single year is a little bit ridiculous. And I do worry about the damage it could do to the sport.
What are you buying out of?
Like if you had a 3-year deal, let's say Dylan Raiola had a
contract.
What's that?
A contract, right? Are we buying out of a contract?
Correct.
Okay, yeah. All right. So I mean, that ultimately it's up to the schools that do they want to make a little bit less money? Because that's it. Like if you want to put these guys in a position where they can't move, you're going to make a little bit less money, right? Because then we go down the kind of the employer route.
Is that why they're changing? Because you're not signing a scholarship anymore. Aren't you signing like a different legal
different document? It is
you're still signing a scholarship. You are no longer signing a national letter of intent.
Mm-hmm. Correct. It's a financial aid agreement, right? Or something along those lines. Yeah. Okay, so Dylan Raiola with a little bit more legs. Now, I will say that how about this? So I feel I was going to start this off with Jackson Arnold, Miller Moss, Connor Wegman, Caden Salter, 4 quarterbacks that to me represented the quarterbacks that are not bluster. Like we are assuming they are in the portal or expected to be in the portal. We've had the reporting around it. But am I missing anyone from what you would consider right now, not rumor, not buzz, but like right now, quarterbacks that you would consider on the market?
Well, you saw Salter. We know, Miller Moss, Jackson Arnold, Kate. We already talked about Caden Salter. I think Devin Dampier for a team that is maybe not a traditional drop back passing team. I thought he was tremendous for New Mexico, and I got a ton of respect for what back on that staff and those guys do to scheme open good stuff. But if I'm a team that runs sort of a non-traditional offense, like a Vandy, If I'm Barton, I'm at least kicking around Dampier. I thought Dampier was really dynamic for New Mexico this year. So that'll be one that's good to watch.
Darian Mensah from Tulane was another one that I would consider up near the top. So like Tom, but where do you, any sort of types of destinations like for any of those stand out? Because it's very tough at this early in the process for us to identify the individual program, but given the types of players that we're dealing with and some of the needs that we know that are out there, what are some places where you think you would expect there to at least be some interest in communication?
Any SEC, Big Ten, or kind of playoff contender that wants a new quarterback next year. I mean, they're all going to be in the running for it. Like Auburn, you think is going to have to be in for one. Florida State could be very much in for one. It's anybody really. Like, I mean, who's not going to be looking for a QB? Hell, Alabama might decide it wants a different QB. You don't know. That's the thing about the way that the roster construction works now. You're not necessarily married to a guy for 4 years just because you recruited him and he's been playing in your offense. Like, if you are Kalen DeBoer, you had success this year with Jalen Milroe, but maybe you feel like you want more of a traditional kind of drop back passer because your offense works better that way. So maybe you're in the portal looking for one. I have no idea where any of these guys are going to end up. They're all going to have a ton of different offers.
Did Milroe say he was going back publicly? I know somebody reported it, but I didn't see if it was like a legit report or if it was something. But I thought I saw where Milroe said he's coming back to Alabama. The other thing about this class in general, just looking at these names, last year I thought was strong. Like you had Dylan Gabriel, ton of experience. Like he was pretty head and shoulders. Riley Leonard had a ton of upside. Is it just me or some of these guys pretty flawed? Like, and
yes.
like some years, yeah. Because I mean, I'm looking at, I'm obviously getting asked by a lot of Florida State fans, and they're like, "Oh, which Gus go?" I do think system fit matters. So I think Caden Salter, pretty mobile quarterback. I think that would make a ton of sense if he does go there. Thomas Castellanos, another name that has been out there. I think he could be that potential good fit. But as far as like the answer, this guy being the answer, I think it's going to be a crapshoot. I might go back to the way we do the coaches. Like, sure, C+, C+ looks good. Because there have been so many that we've seen, even in this short window, who we thought were going to be great and just totally, flopped.
Who's Georgia's quarterback next year? We don't know.
Gunnar Stockton.
If Stockton plays reasonably well, I think it will be Stockton. I mean, let me ask you this. Where would be a better fit for Jalen Milroe? It's not like you have Bill O'Brien trying to shoehorn him into a system that doesn't work. Like we have seen DeBoer. People are still kind of blinded by what he did with Michael Penix, who couldn't move because he had like multiple ACL surgeries. But throughout DeBoer's career, he has been an absolute killer with mobile quarterbacks and has developed quarterbacks super well. Like, you want to do the USC thing?
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't know, maybe a spot that took a running quarterback who was limited in the pass game and turned him into a, second round pick and one of the better quarterbacks in their history. I do think that would probably be the option I think you would find attractive, would be Lincoln Riley, who will be, again, in the market for a quarterback.
Because Jaden Maeva, like you can't set that as your standard. You have to bring in competition. Yeah.
Yes.
And you know what else I think? I do think you'll start seeing like guys described very similarly to the way that we describe quarterbacks in the NFL free agent market. Like Miller Moss, to me, is a good bridge quarterback. Like I think Michigan, when you're bringing in like a young kid and Bryce Underwood, like that to me is a great option because you're not committed to a long term. It's very much 1 year. It's a placeholder. He gives you sort of a floor of what you think could be the worst case. And if Bryce Underwood comes in and tears it up, then I think everyone's like, Miller Moss is probably like, yeah, I knew that coming into it. Mentor him, keep an eye on him.
What about Jackson Arnold?
I think a lot of people will connect that to Mississippi State because of the Levy connection from Oklahoma. So I think that makes sense. I think Ole Miss could make sense for him. I mean, that's another SEC school that's going to be considering itself in the playoff hunt that's probably going to be in the market for a QB this offseason. Again, there's lots of fits for lots of these guys because there is no, like Danny was saying, there's no alpha, no number one guy available.
Like the Jackson Arnold with Levy, I get the connection with the relationship. But I feel like if you have to consider your supporting cast, and maybe that's the best option out there, but you're going to get beat up a lot at Mississippi State. And maybe he's got the confidence where you feel like I can change that narrative and I can lift this team up. But where there is no salary cap and there is no structure to the system, I do think if you're Jackson Arnold, you might want to go somewhere with some better supporting cast. I mean, we saw him when he struggled without receivers and, with an offensive line that was banged up. We saw that.
And an interesting question brought up from the tailgate. If you are a program that is looking to get, we've got this window right here, but for every team that's in the college football playoff, they're going to get a little bit of a delayed window once their season ends. There's got to be a lot of quarterbacks that are play for teams that are in the college football playoff right now that are going to be available later. Do you want to jump right now to bring a Connor Wegman in, or do you want to wait for the opportunity to be able to go after either a starter or somebody in the quarterback room for another? I mean, look, there are two quarterbacks. There is no guarantee Quinn Ewers is going to the NFL, and there is no way, in my opinion, Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning are both suiting up for Texas next year. So there's one, right? I mean,
but won't you be screwed if you're Quinn Ewers? But because of the calendar, again, like if let's say they make a deep run, they make it to the Final Four, and maybe it's because of the defense and Quinn has played okay, or Arch comes in and is sprinkled in, isn't he stuck with the only option being the NFL then? If the school year starts, are they going to find ways around that? I would be cool if they made exceptions. They said, you know what? We're going to let guys who played in the playoffs, who were on teams playing in the playoffs, we'll let them go past the 30-day window. That was the portal.
Well, because there's the exceptions for if your coach gets fired, but are there exceptions for like that your season is running deep into like you continue to play until January 1st?
Yes. Remember last year, both of the teams in the college football playoff final got an extended window.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, they did.
Yeah.
So Malik Murphy didn't have to leave Texas to go to Duke?
Yeah, he just chose.
He chose to.
And then will they make an academic exception? I guess.
Mm-hmm. That's up to the schools.
That I'm not sure about.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, every academic
thing. I was going to say probably like 40% of the players on rosters are academic exceptions somewhere.
I would say that's probably pretty accurate. Any other non-quarterbacks that you've got your eyes on in terms of transfer portal interest or teams that might be particularly active?
So you guys
go ahead.
This is Pete Nakos at 11:14 says Carson Beck injured his UCL.
Yeah, that's been a lot morning.
Now, does that mean is he done?
Yeah, for this year.
Well, it says injured.
Maybe he can get PRP, right? Like
but I don't know. Like, aren't there varying degrees of it? Like, it doesn't say tear.
It depends if it's a complete tear or whatever. Like, but I don't know, man. Like,
typically, the football could be a big deal.
He'll need like a rehab assignment, and then like get the PRP, and then like if you draft him in fantasy, you'll be like, all right, cool, we're good, and then he'll come back and he'll throw, and then the velo is really down, and then
his control will be terrible.
Yeah, it delays Tommy John by like at least 3 months. Yeah,
baseball bros. I saw
you're giving Pete Nakos credit for that. Don't I deserve credit for breaking that? I said that on Saturday night.
I said it Saturday afternoon.
I said it I said it on Friday. I predicted the future.
This all goes back to that dinner in Fort Lauderdale. It just hadn't been the same for a guy Carson Beck.
That's right. It really hasn't.
I saw him. So there was the camera that caught him saying it's bad. Y'all saw that? Yeah. And then after the game, Kirby said he didn't have grip. That's not
There's a hand injury. He couldn't grip the ball.
He couldn't grip it. Okay.
So are we opening up the Cavendish curse again? This is
the Cowboys suck.
Yeah. This might really be a real thing.
We're locals corner for a second, Bud. Who do you think's in the market for Kevin Concepcion?
I actually don't know, but I would say almost everybody who needs a decent receiver because
he's number one, right? Isn't he the best wide receiver available as of right now?
Probably. We have almost 600 guys in the portal this morning, so I'm actually hitting refresh as we're live here to see who else is jumping in. But think about there were not a lot of elite senior receivers this year, so there will probably be a pretty good market for receivers, I think, out there because of all the underclassmen who may be available. It's not like we have a lot of guys graduating off, whereas the past year we had a ton. But some of the better ones do play for teams that I think will come up with the scratch to keep. Like, I think Ohio State will probably hold on to Jeremiah Smith. I would think Ryan Williams will stay at Alabama. So Coleman likely at least one more year at Auburn.
Singleton from Georgia Tech's a good player. I don't know where he's going to end up, but that's going to be a good addition for somebody.
I just got confirmation from my medical expert that it all depends on the severity if he can throw or not.
You literally just got that? Well, let's go, Dave.
I mean, that was Adam Schefter live on ESPN taking a phone call. Thanks, Dad. That's why I had to call him real quick to see what I was like. How he's like, hey, well, it depends on the severity. Exactly, pretty much the same thing we did, but we're not real doctors. We just play them on the podcast. So I just want to make sure that was what I was saying.
Are we
Do you think also? I mean, this is where obviously we didn't have to have that debate because they got locked in. But I also wonder, they won't have to say how severe it is. And I guarantee you Kirby will keep this tight to the vest. So we probably won't know. Don't you think they'll keep this? Or do you think they would say season-ending surgery? And it's kind of hard to hide that.
Yeah, I think they're going to try to keep it quiet. But
he's got draft stock of on the line. He's got.
It's like, I don't see how you can. Like, if it is a serious Tommy John kind of situation, there's no way they keep that quiet because he's got to get the surgery as soon as possible.
One last thought of mine, but I'm going to come back to you real quick. Do you think that Bryce Underwood would be upset if they bring in a portal quarterback, like a bridge style quarterback?
Probably not. If it's like some super stud, maybe, but if it's just a bridge guy, then I think, like if you're Bryce and they bring in like a Miller Moss or something like that, I mean, bro, that's on you to beat him out.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You're going to be a $3 million guy as a true freshman or whatever the real number actually is. I'm going to need you to be able to beat out Miller Moss because Miller Moss is, we know what Louisville staff thought of him when they played him in that bowl game, despite what he did to him. He got benched this year. He's kind of jagged.
His name tied to Louisville?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, he does meet the qualifications.
He does.